Sean here with the Family Outdoors. In this episode of Bushcraft for Beginners, we're going to take a look at building your very first shelter, a debris hut. Stick around. So you may be asking yourself, why do I want to build a debris hut as my first shelter as a beginning bushcrafter? One of the very many simple answers is that it requires no money and all the material can be found out in nature. Most people opt to go with man-made cordage for the frame of the structure, but other than that, everything can be found out in the bush. It's a dry shelter, it'll keep you out of the elements, and it'll keep you warm with a nice little fire laid in front of it. You can see it's built very solid and can be made very roomy or very small. The choice is completely up to you. The first thing you're going to want to do is to go harvest 3 poles. 2 of them will be exactly the same length. For the debris hut pictured here, we went with 2 8-foot poles, and then the third pole is slightly longer, and we made that one at 10 feet. You'll want to start with a simple tripod lash by laying all 3 of them down on the ground as shown in the video. We started off with a Canadian jam knot, tightening it around one piece of the wood. Next, you'll want to loop the cordage under and over the logs. You continue this process till each log has roughly 5 wraps on it. As you're working on your tripod lash, you'll want to do it slowly and methodically, trying to keep the lash as tight as possible, but not so tight as that not to be able to move the poles around to keep sliding your cordage through. This will all be tightened up a little bit later when we put the fraps around the lashing that is twisting back and forth over the logs. It requires a little bit of patience, but once you get the hang of it, you can do it very, very quickly. You can see here in the video the beginning of the fraps starting to go on, where we are wrapping the cordage around parallel with the poles to tighten up the cordage that was interwoven in between the poles perpendicular. In a relatively short period of time, you will now have the frame for your debris hut and will allow you to set it up into the location of your choosing. This is very vital, as you can turn the shelter away from the elements or have it faced in whatever direction you choose. Now with your poles all lashed together, it's time to set up the frame for your shelter. You pull the legs, you spread them apart and set your opening where you choose to, while extending the back ridge pole down along to give the structure a more long shape to it and to help with the snow shed. The frame is a very vital part, and you should be very careful when selecting the poles that you choose to use for your debris hut. These will be bearing all the weight of the shelter. And keep in mind, you don't have to make a debris hut nearly as big as the one as we chose to here. You can make a nice small debris hut, and it'll require a lot less time, material, and energy. Our next step is really quite simple. All it requires is a little bit of walking around through the forest and collecting dead sticks to grab and lean against the frame, creating the walls. This is easily achieved in a forest, as it usually has a lot of blowdown that can easily be harvested, and the burrs can be cleaned off and then leaned against the shelter frame to create some nice solid walls. The walls of your debris hut will build really quickly, as they require very little effort to gather the sticks and lean them against the shape of the structure naturally supporting them. As you can see here, the straighter the poles are, the closer you can get them together. This will help hold the debris that you're going to throw up on top a lot easier. It is very simple shelter to build, and one that isn't that time consuming. With a little bit of effort, you can close off the debris hut in no time at all. Although it is not necessary, there are a few tools that can really help you in building your debris hut cleanly and maybe a little quicker. That is a good wood saw and perhaps an axe or a heavier knife to help you delimb some of the debris that you find so that you don't have sharp sticks pointing down into your shelter. These are not a necessity in this shelter. Most certainly can be built without any of those, but they might make it a little bit more enjoyable for you. Now that you have the walls done, you want to cover them with debris. Debris can be anything from moss, as you can see we are using to cover this debris hut with, to leaf litter, duff, pine needles, anything you find laying around on the forest floor. It is really a matter of convenience of location and what you have around you. You just want to collect the duff, throw it on top, and slowly work the debris in to cover all the holes. This may take a little bit of time as you want to ensure that you have good coverage so that if it rains or snows, you won't have moisture inside of your structure. It might seem a little tedious, but this is going to be the part that makes or breaks your shelter. Viewing the shelter from the inside is a great way to help you identify if there's any holes in the debris that you are throwing up on the roof, as you will easily be able to see the light peer through the coverage, and you will know where you need to add more duff and material to the outside in order to keep the moisture out. It is a very simple method and it takes no time at all, and you will be happy with your new shelter. Once the thatching is all complete, there's nothing left to do but enjoy your new shelter. It's an easy one to make, a lot of fun, and it is very functional and works very well. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions, just leave them down in the comments below and we'll do our best to get back to you. Thanks for watching another video from A Family Outdoors, and I hope we're helping you beginning bushcrafters. Till next time, keep outdoors.